Okay, so I'm going to read 2 excerpts from Blood Words. He said it was for a very high-end magazine. The high end of what, I thought, and all the fallen autumn leaves flew towards me and begged me to sweep them through the cracked concrete. So this quote I emailed to Chitra from Blood Words, and it stuck with me because it has so much to do with that superficiality. You know, you're striving towards something, you're striving towards a career, and you know, the high end of what exactly? What does it mean when you've reached, you know, the top of something that's, you know, business, or that's superficial and that's not real? What does it mean to you? And then the second part, the autumn leaves flew toward me and begged me to sweep them through the cracked concrete, I think resonated with me because of a film that Chitra showed me too, which has become my favorite film, La Strada by Fellini, where there's, you know, a part in the climax that talks about the value of pebbles, and it reminded me of, you know, fallen autumn leaves. Something that Chitra does that she, you know, doesn't advertise is she sees leaves that fell on the sidewalk, she picks them up and puts them back on the earth. So that's immediately what I thought of. You know, the fallen autumn leaves aren't decaying or dying, they're just, that's the stage they're in the circle of life. And the other quote is, the bark had peeled off in the tree, off the tree, and it couldn't fit anymore. And that kind of goes back to rebirth, how I feel. I read something separately about how, you know, if you look back on what you did in 5 years and you're embarrassed, you know, that's a good thing. That means you've grown and you've changed, and that means that the bark, you know, doesn't fit back on the tree. So that's something I'm always working on, you know, not letting myself be embarrassed, feeling empowered, which really relates back to the femininity of the book, and what it does for women. You know, it shows them that they can be strong and they can grow, and they don't have to do anything that society tells them to. They just have to do what their heart tells them to. And, you know, they don't always have to listen to you know, someone in their life who may be very influential, but ultimately, if they don't have a good feeling about them, you know, they're free to walk on.
So if you can speak more so on some of the elements within the book, Blood Words, and specifically sensuality and what it means to you, or what elements within the story that you find out very sensual?
I think what has opened up for me by reading this book is my vulnerability, which is an element of sensuality. You know, I've always been called a sensitive person, and to be vulnerable is kind of completely different. You know, I think that I'm more in touch with my own feelings, and I'm more confident in my own thoughts, my own original thoughts. And it leads me, you know, to feel stronger in crying, and to feel like my weak moments are what are making me strong, because they're not really weak. What someone sees as weak, to be in touch and to act on your emotions is not a weak thing, because your emotions are connected to your thoughts. And so that's what I would say. My sensitivity is definitely being opened and being let free and it allows me to connect with other people better because I'm being more of myself and I'm not hiding or ashamed. So I guess, you know, what I would say is that being a vulnerable person really lets you be who you are and be strong and be open to new people and new ideas. And I think in the book, the main character is very vulnerable, but she's also very, you know, sure of, you know, the truth.
I'll also ask you one question in the sense about the main character. What about the main character, you know, attracts you personally, and even within the context of the story? What elements about the main character do you find very strong? Do you find very to yourself personally?
Her fluidity, her poetry. She carries around a notebook everywhere, and sometimes there's little excerpts of her own poetry that she applies to the moment, or that she writes, or that she reflects back on. So that's, you know, what I love about her is that she sees everything as connected, and she is able to find beauty in everything, and she's able to go back to her roots and what she knows. And you know, there's a lot of times where she's barefoot or she's with nature, she's, you know, on the grass in Central Park in the city, and I think that's helped me kind of find a ground in my own life of finding something to go back to connect with, to hold on to, that is pure.
I'll also ask you a question about the style of the book. You know, being the fact that it's narrated on the first person's perspective. You feel it's more stronger, or it's more relatable than if it was in the third person voice, and even the poetry of the context as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, since it is first person, and you're reading it, you read I, and you read me, and there's no barrier, there's no fourth wall between her and yourself if you don't let there be one. So, you know, I think if it was third person, it would take me out of it, but it's so, you know, Chitra wants to share this story, and more so than writing it about someone, you're not sure whether it's about her or whether it's about someone she knows or a fictional character, but it helps you relate more to the main character by being right inside her head.
Did you find it complex to read because of the poetry, or do you find it very fluid when you read it?
It's very complex, and it's not, like I said before, it's not an easy read. You can read it easily, but it's not an easy read. You have to feel it, you have to spend time with it, you have to grow, and, you know, you kind of have to plant the book and you have to let it grow, I think, is the best way that I would put it. So, you know, if you wanted to, you could read it all, you know, in a few days, in a week, but for me, you know, in order to fully experience the book, you know, I read it and I take time and I reflect, and, you know, when I'm ready, I go to the next part.
And what would you say about that experience? Can you encapsulate it in a few phrases?
I've never read anything like that. It's never taken me this long to read something. But, you know, then again, I've never changed so much from reading something. I've never felt so strong after reading something. You know, sometimes it's hard to delineate between my life and her life, because, you know, I'll be going through something and then I'll read something that she wrote and I'll be like, did I write that or did she write that?
Is there any last words that you want to say about to those who have yet to read
No, because I don't think it needs. I mean, I guess, you're in a bookstore and you need persuasion to pick one book over the other. But I think a true piece of art that it is, it doesn't need a synopsis. It doesn't need a spoiler. If my interview doesn't, and if, wherever you heard about it from isn't enough, then, maybe you're not going to, maybe the book's not for you or you're not ready for it. But, yeah, I think just go in with an open mind, an open heart, and be prepared to have your life changed. Every woman should read this book. She touches on what it means to be a woman today, and I think it's a universal thing to. Today in modern society, it's not, not everywhere, it isn't easy everywhere to be a woman, but I think you'll find some epiphany of your own when you're reading it, and, you may not be as free, or you may be as free, but I think it will free your mind if you do read it. I think maybe it'll inspire you to travel, or it'll inspire you to meet new people, or to speak your mind. And just, I think it'll just, awaken your senses.